I'd like to call this meeting of the School District of Baraboo School Board to order for Monday, August the 24th, 2015. With roll call, Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Mr. McNevin.
Here.
Mr. Meering.
Here.
Mr. Mortimer.
Here.
Ms. Riley is going to join us momentarily. Mr. Bedrow.
Here.
And Bodak here. Continue with the pledge. The flag's behind the counter by the clock. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the August the 10th, 2015 meeting as printed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bedrow, seconded by Meering. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried, minutes thus approved. Brings us to correspondence. I have none and did not have any attention brought to me in regards to any other board members. We do, however, have administrative correspondence. Ms. Miller?
Yep, and that correspondence was in your packet. It was a handwritten letter from Dave Girdman establishing that he's making a donation of $5,000 for our Phase 2 of Barrow Newman Stadium, the bleacher project, and also $10,000 for the Baraboo Cross Country program. And if there's funds left over after all those needs are met, then he wants that transferred to the track and field program. Mr. Girdman has been very gracious to the district in the past. You may recall he also made a $50,000 donation to our track when we refurbished that, so, or remodeled that.
Awesome. Any additional correspondence? No. Hearing none, brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Public Viewpoints. Is there anyone here for public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints? Any public viewpoints? Hearing and seeing none, I'd like to move on to 4, which is the staff student community recognition. And we have a presentation from Jack Young Middle School with us tonight. I'll turn it over to you guys.
You can stand up here, so we can hear you.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to pass around some pictures of Orientation Day
And training.
and training. This year, our program started in 2010, our web program, which means where everybody belongs. And every year it's gotten stronger. The first year, our turnout rate at orientation was about 75%. This year, we're up to 84%. So out of 223 students of our incoming class, we had 184 students were able to come. So that's actually 83% turnout rate, which is great for Orientation Day. With me today, I have Ben Beal and Danny Bolak, who came to the two days in the summer for training along with orientation. These are 2 students that stood out to Teresa McCullough, Kristen Neese, and Linda Garcia, and myself during the training and orientation day. They had exemplary leadership skills, cooperative skills. They solved problems with some struggling students. We had a group of boys that were really hard to, I don't want to say handle, but to focus. And Ben did a great job of identifying those young men, stepping in, helping them, separating them. And then Danny is an example of a student, a very hard worker, which after the training, they get leadership packets, probably like, I don't know, 60 pages that we go through on the training dates that they have to learn, and then they do small group activities with these kids. And after the training day, I saw her come back in and take notes, and extra notes of what to do on orientation day. So that shows me of a student that went above and beyond of what she really needed to do that day for orientation. So, like I said, our program started in 2010. Teresa and I run this program all school year, so it doesn't just stop at the first day of school. This is a year-long program. So we do social and academic groups throughout the school year with incoming 6th graders. There's about 2 web leaders per 13 incoming 6th graders, so it's a smaller group. And like I said, they connect with them once a month throughout the school year. So do you guys have any questions for 2 of the amazing web leaders this school year? Which all of them are amazing. We had 39 students. We had approximately 69 applied to be web leaders. Not everybody is able to get into the program. They have to fill out an application. We look at their discipline. We look at grades. We look at attendance. And then some of them will also have to interview with us, with Mrs. McCullough and I, based on how much information we're able to pull. So it's not a program that everybody can get into, so.
And what's great about it is that you have kids that get to develop these leadership skills that they may not realize they even have. And because teachers might nominate someone or encourage them to fill an application. So you have your outspoken leaders that they can be around other kids that like to lead. And you have kids who maybe show more through their actions, leadership skills. And it's just really good for them to be around each other and encourage each other. And I had kind of a unique perspective. In the last 2 years, I've had kids be the sixth graders, and I've had my own kids be the web leaders. So it's interesting to get that take on, you know, how positive. That's why I really promote the program, because I see both ends and it makes an impact. But these guys would love to answer any questions.
Yeah, I just like your guys' perspectives on the benefits that you saw as a leader, but then also as for those sixth graders that you've been leading into the program. So if you can give me feedback on that, that'd be great.
Well, let's start. I think it's good for them to know that there's people out there that can help them if they have any problems in their first couple of days or any time in the school year, because they are new to the school. They might have troubles with their lockers. Like, I had troubles with mine when I was in sixth grade. They get jammed every day.
I know.
Good at unjamming them.
So going from being a sixth grader to an eighth grader, in sixth grade, I know I was really nervous about going into middle school because I'd heard things that the teachers were harder and the homework was a lot harder. And then being a sixth grader, I was nervous, and it was really nice to have a web leader tell you that it really was a lot easier than people were telling you, and that was a lot of stuff that wasn't true, and that they got to tell you a lot of things from their perspective and how great it was to actually be in middle school. And they taught you like tricks about how to open your locker and tricks about how to get to your classes faster. Like, instead of using the ramps and being cramped with other people, you can use the stairs, which is a lot easier, a lifesaver, to get to like the second floor to the fourth floor. And it was just nice knowing that someone else had been through the same thing and survived. So.
Survival. All right. Okay, thank you.
Well, it's nice too because they're not grouped per school. So when you come into the middle school, if you don't have classes with your 3 or 4 friends that came with you to the middle school with you, they get to meet kids from St. Joe's, all the other, GLW, all the other schools mixture, and it's different kids that may be in that web group compared to the kids that are in their classes and clubs. So again, it's another opportunity to meet some different kids. And it helps the new kids that come into our district as well, because they don't know anybody when they come in. And so this gives them an opportunity right away. We usually meet the second week of school, so right away, the new kids as well get to meet 10 other sixth graders, along with some eighth grader role models.
And I think the web program, along with having the multi-grade homerooms, the TAs, has really sort of changed the environment in terms of just having sixth graders feel comfortable with eighth graders. And I was a staff member when we first made that change, and we weren't sure if that was going to, how that was going to work with having sixth graders with eighth graders in your homeroom. And I think it's just overall had a real positive impact on the building.
Kudos to all of you. There's nothing more frightening than the imaginations of young people going into the unknown. And so whatever we can do to help them understand that it's not as bad in some ways and it's worse in others, then thank you so much for all of the time and effort that all of you put into creating an environment where our kids can be less worried and therefore more focused.
And thank you too for your student leadership. We have a little incentive here for you. Thank you for making everybody feel welcome and supported when they come into school. Thank you. And soon you're going to be coming up to the high school. Hopefully we'll have people doing that for you here too. I also want to thank you, Teresa McCullough, Melinda Garcia, Christina Olson. I know you've been coordinating this effort, and Kristen Meeks for everything you've done. Thank you for making these kids feel welcome as they start the school year, and I know you're there for them all year long, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Brings us then to reports, and first up, under A, construction summary update, Jen Mason from CG Schmidt.
guys. See, no PowerPoint this time. All right, so I think the best sum it up is it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This has probably been the worst week of the whole project, but also the best week. Thanks for giving me a couple challenges, throwing down the gauntlets, because it's actually really gotten me through. Thank you. Really should thank you.
It's the least I could do.
Somebody told me when I pulled that off with the carpet, one of my pipe fitters is like, you have a twinkle in your eye. I'm like, I just got carpet. Like, it just it doesn't take much right now. So, you know, this is our mantra that's formed over time, really started with Dan, and Lauren's really taken a run with it. So this is where we're at right now. Actually, the east that's actually old, and it's from about 48 hours ago. The panels are almost finished there. They're going to finish them by Thursday. Library, that pattern's not correct. They're just finishing it. They're getting new carpet from the mill. It's only going to be little clusters of colors. So now it's confirmed that we shouldn't have carried the pattern through the whole library. So now you know. So we're finishing up the library. That'll be done by Thursday. And here's the office. The carpet here is stunning. I really, really like it.
Stunning.
It is.
Love it.
It is. I see a lot of ugly stuff, and this stuff is beautiful. I can't say anything. I can say it's beautiful. So we're finishing the metal panels. We got to rework the IMC carpet. Furniture is coming all week. So I'm going to be chasing them around, making sure everybody gets to the right spot. I already looked around today. I was in Milwaukee all day and saw that some of the furniture had arrived. The basketball court was paved today.
Yes.
Anybody had seen it? And I got to say, I'm really glad we did it. It looks a lot better, everything from the east. I didn't want anything taking away from the IMC, and I think that it looks so much better to the east now. So, oh, and then we're going to do some restoration. Bloom has to get back out there and kind of clean it up a little bit. West, metal panels are finishing up this week. They already started the installation today. We put them on last because you don't want somebody dinging them. You're going to get damaged and they're harder to replace, so that's why we put them on so very last. Here's the office. And what we have left here, we have some patching at youth events that will happen tomorrow, just little bits of VCT that's sitting in the hall right now waiting for them tomorrow. I already harassed them about it because I caught them leaving Abe. And then the metal panel completion. Just little odds and ends and bits and bobs. At Al Behrman, we are doing striping tomorrow, so in the morning I'm meeting with the stripers that are actually out front putting signs to make sure that we stripe that correctly and check that with Dan. And then we're also getting a rendering from EUA to make sure that we can get that information out to parents so that they know how much better it's going to be. And I snuck flowers on some of the neighbors' yards because I felt so bad because they had to deal with us all summer. So I was stealthily putting flowers down on their porches. So this is the flooring just finished today. So this is really the whole reason, not besides the board meeting, this is really why I came up here, is because I wanted to make sure that flooring was done, or there's going to be hell to pay. I do get mean. So this is what we have left. We had finished flooring today. We just decided today we're going to add carpet in the workroom, so everything's improved on that side. Landscaping, meaning restoring in the back. We have enclosures. There's different kinds of enclosures that are behind the unit vents, and we're going to make sure we get those painted so they look more attractive. They look nice as they are, but we want to look better. So we're going to be working on that and striping tomorrow. At Wilson, this is a picture of the office. Their showcase is obviously Thursday, so we're making sure that we get all their furniture in first, and they're getting cleaned first tomorrow, them and Jack Young. So we have to replace the sill. There's two little odd sills that we didn't realize how orange they were until we saw the carpet. They did accept the challenge to replace the carpet, so they demoed it today, and they're going to install it over the next 2 days. And then we just found out today we're going to remove some floor boxes and kind of cover those up. It's kind of a nightmare. Baraboo High School. That's the new lot. New roof. That carpet is my favorite, I have to say, and it was selected by Barabooians, so they did better than the architects. Basically, I think it ties together as a team so incredibly well. So it's really a beautiful space. The only thing we have left at Baraboo High School is figure out what the ceiling room height and see how high we can get those tech room ceilings. Little minor stuff.
Are we still negotiating carpeting for her?
Yeah.
And then Jeff Young. We just have to finish the girls' locker room partitions. That was a late change to add the tile, and we're going to throw some partitions up. And I owe them a waste receptacle. So there's the office, which does look much better blue. John, you're right. And poor North Freedom. No one ever talks about North Freedom. So what we have left there, they're cooling coil, and while all of you guys have air conditioning, they're gonna not get it till the end of September when it starts getting cold. So hopefully this weather stays up so they can stay cool as well, but that was just an engineering flaw, they just didn't know what they had there. So now we got it as soon as we could. I pushed for that really hard, and today we decided the color of the fence because we're gonna surround the unit that's on the ground so the kids don't get hurt and they're safer there. Some just general items. IBS is going to be working on security in the card readers. You may have seen that Jack Young Middle School, their card reader up front didn't work over the weekend, which I was very unhappy about. I sent an angry email on Sunday morning. No day is safe. So they'll be working on that all week, and I'm going to be chasing them around. Marker boards, that's in Jack Young, there's one. There's 2 in East, one in a work room and one in the professional development room. Those are going up tomorrow, being delivered here. Furniture installation, all that's getting done by 3 different vendors between now and Thursday. Pipe enclosures, now this is common to all the schools. The refrigerant piping was determined so late in the project, usually you do that much sooner than we had ended up having to do it. We were forced to do it at the end of June. So everything's insulated right now, everything is safe, and they're custom making enclosures that are powder coated, and they'll put those on in the off hours and you won't even notice the change. Window treatment to the week of September 7th. And then we just realized that the Jack Young dimensional signage, it's gonna be at the end of September. I was on Saturday doing punch lists, and I'm thinking, God, you know what would tie these 2 entrances together? Some oh my God dimensional signage. So I wrote the purchase order in May, so it's gonna come at the end of, she got me all the stuff I needed. We got it ordered today, and it'll be here at the end of September. And I'll keep pushing for that. The dimensional signage are those metal letters right by the pool for, we don't know. Any questions? That's where we are right now. Soon I'll be out of your hair and I will miss you so. I am Baraboo proud, I have to say.
Thank you.
So, thanks you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, under B for reports, District Safety Plan Update, Ms. Scott.
Good evening, everyone. So in August, we had an opportunity to have our annual district safety meeting. That's where we invite representatives from our community partners. So police, fire, ambulance, Cobeson was there, there's district safety coordinator, Christy was there. We have had a chance to meet on a yearly basis, and it was a great conversation that we had between all of us. And so we definitely have a plan of action for this school year and some things we want to accomplish. If you remember, last year, the school board approved proceeding with the ALICE protocol. So that is something that we will be implementing full scale in all of our buildings this year. The ALICE protocol is a safety response for an active shooter or violent intruder within our buildings. So we will be proceeding with that. The other big thing, 2 big things that we'll be doing this year is we will be doing a parent reunification drill. We're going to run that with the help of Jeff Jelinek from our Sauk County Emergency Crisis Response. Jeff has done parent reunification drills in other districts as well as at the Kalahari. He actually did a reunification drill there. So that is probably the biggest piece yet in our plan that we want to practice and make sure that we have all of those pieces in place. The second big thing new this year is we have purchased a software called Crisis Go, and I've got just like a 2-minute video here that I want to show you, and then I'll answer any questions.
Your district has taken an important step in keeping students and staff safe during emergencies. With Crisis Go, you will have access to your district's emergency plan directly from your smartphone, tablet, or computer. We take your crisis plan out of the 3-ring binder and put it in the palm of your hand. In recent school emergencies, it has taken up to 10 minutes for emergency responders to get to the scene. In nearly every crisis situation, the first 10 minutes are vital. We know based on past tragedies that 2 factors are critical in those first few minutes: quick action and good communication. Crisis Go can provide you with the necessary tools to assist your district in any crisis situation. When a crisis happens, the Crisis Go Alert feature will allow you to send an audible siren to other devices in the district to alert them of a dire crisis situation. Once you are alerted of a crisis, you can refer to the checklist portion of Crisis Go. We take your district's emergency plan and organize it into concise, actionable checklists that are tailored to fit each role in the district and differ for each crisis type. The Crisis Go Contacts feature contains an organized list of external and internal contacts, while the Maps feature will contain the floor plans and evacuation maps from your emergency plan. You can also include useful how-to documents such as CPR guides. If your district purchased the roster feature, your school's student information system will sync daily and display an updated roster. Emergency contact information can also be viewed for each student. Our notice feature is important because it allows for 2-way communication so that your teachers and staff can send or receive any pertinent information about an ongoing crisis. This can be accomplished using text messages, pictures, or short audio or video clips. There's even a personal light and siren built into the Crisis Go app. We are beginning the implementation process with your district, and you will soon be receiving an email with additional instructions and login information. Once again, thank you for being a part of this proactive change in how crisis situations are handled.
I'm working with the company right now to get our crisis plan, which is literally a 3-ring binder, into electronic. They will convert it for us into electronic checklists. We'll have all of our floor plans in there. Probably the biggest feature that sold us on this particular company is the roster feature that they talked about. I hadn't seen that in any other company that I had previewed before this. So daily, Infinite Campus will download the student rosters after attendance has been taken, and so if there's an emergency, teachers will have access to an up-to-date roster in terms of which students are in attendance in that particular class and that particular day. The other nice feature with Crisis Go, as they indicated in the video, is that we'll have access to emergency contact information for all of our students. And so this app will be available for all of our administrators, all of our teachers. It's an unlimited access app, so we can have it on as many devices as we need. The other key feature for this is that our community partners can also access the app as well. They can have it on their devices as well. So we're in the process of getting this installed. So, questions?
So like on the roster feature, if we had to evacuate the building and you're out this door and you've got 13 students around you, you quickly update that I've got these 13 out of the building safely, and everybody automatically knows that
right,
they're out.
It has the capability of sending text messages and, yep, absolutely.
The Alice, have we done sessions with our parents in all the buildings now, or?
If you remember last spring, we had a community night where we invited community members. It wasn't well attended, unfortunately.
Sure.
But we have also communicated, we did a joint letter from all of our principals last spring as well, indicating, and we've got information also posted on
So
our
at this
website.
point, all parents are aware that we're going to be
All
doing
parents
this,
should
so
be
it won't be
aware,
any
yeah.
surprise when the kids come home and say, yeah, we've been doing some training. Okay.
It would be really nice, as we follow up with all of our parents, to remind them that their investment in this facilities improvement plan, the investments in these protocols, all of these are driven by the reality that we're all concerned with, and that these are proactive and fundamental steps to do the best we can to limit the possibility of any kind of a tragedy happening here.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the update.
Yep.
Brings us then to Mr. Langkamp, who's going to talk with us about the Baraboo Athletic Parent Code of Conduct, a collaborative process.
It was, yeah, we met twice. First meeting was the end of July, second meeting was the first week of August. First of all, just starting the process, just going over a little bit of the process and how it all worked. The makeup of the committee, I had sent an email out to all high school coaches. It didn't matter if they were varsity or JV or assistant or head coach. I was interested in anybody's opinion. In the end, I believe it was all head varsity coaches that participated. Then I asked them to send out an invite to their booster club officers. We wanted to hear from the folks that have been positively engaged in our programs and in my mind have kind of earned a spot at the table with their efforts, and we wanted to hear their voice from them. And then lastly, I asked the coaches to choose an upcoming or soon-to-be senior to be a part of the process as well. We wanted to hear a student voice and be a part of this process as well. So like I said, we met twice for about 90 minutes each night. We kind of started with, what's the purpose or why are we doing this? And just from a broad perspective, we want our athletic programs to be more enjoyable, more positive for our students, our spectators, our officials, and our coaches. And kind of breaking that down a little bit, for our students, if you looked through the code of what we came up with, there's probably more than half of them are directly something that pertains to students and not getting students into a position where they're caught between a coach and a parent, or how putting kids in a bad spot and things like that. For spectators, I told the group, and I'll just use the number 95%, maybe it's 97, maybe it's 98. A large percentage of our spectators and parents are very positive, very supportive, and it's just that very small percent. And I had shared with them a couple of examples of things that happened over the course of the last year to kind of highlight what's, again, why are we here? But so again, when you look at the 95% or the 98%, we owe it to those folks. We don't want them to be put in a tough spot too in the stands. When something bad is happening or embarrassing or unsportsmanlike, they get put in a difficult position too. What do I do? And then this reflects poorly on me and our crowd and our school and our community. So we want the best representation of our entire community to be positive and not let the 2% or the rare instances that happen spoil it for the rest of us. For officials, again, there's I shared with an example there. Officials bounce around. Obviously, they work from school district to school district. They work with different officials, different partners, and they will share stories. I know they share stories in the locker room before the game or after the game, and they'll talk about the good or the bad of what happened at Baraboo or what happened in Sauk or Reedsburg. So again, we want to be on the positive side of the ledger there. We want officials talking positively about how classy our not our crowd, but our coaches, our athletes. You'd like to think that they show up without any preconceived notions, but again, if they've heard through the grapevine, good or bad, chances are they're human being. They're human being. Chances are they're going to show up with either a chip on their shoulder or looking for something bad, or they're going to show up again, giving you the benefit of the doubt because they've heard that that we're a classy group. Then lastly, in terms of coaches, I told the group, as I look at, we're always looking, how can we get our programs better? How can we improve our programs? And in the couple of years that I've been here, one of the areas that sticks out to me is just our coaching turnover. I compared us to, if we're going to compete with the Wanakees of the world and the DeForests of the world, those folks, largely have coaches that have been around quite a while. And they weren't coaches that necessarily were instantly successful and have always won championships and things like that. But I have to believe that they were treated with respect, they were given patience, they were worked with, and all that. And then eventually the success came down the road. And again, so we want to treat our coaches with respect because if you change coaches every 2 or 3 years, it makes it very difficult to build long-lasting programs and successful programs. So that was one of the purposes and one of the benefits that we hope to get from this. So talking about the 2 nights, and how we came up with the code. So we started with, I had come up with 5 sample codes that I had found throughout the country of, there was I think 3 school districts and then a couple of youth sports organizations. And so we started with kind of a sample, and rather than again recreating everything from the beginning. So then we broke up into groups. First night we had 25 participants. I think we had 5 tables of 5, and we put 1 student, a coach or 2, and a parent or 2 at every table. So we had kind of a mix in each table. And then each table looked at the 5 sample codes and prioritized and said, we asked each group to come up with their top 10 of what they wanted on the code. So each group came up with their top 10, then we reported out and came up with consensus of what we wanted the school's code to look like. And there's a lot of great discussion, great ideas. One thing I should mention, the students were very involved in the whole process. We didn't, I didn't want them just to be there just to say that we had students and to be kind of a decoration. They were very helpful, had some great ideas and great input in the conversation. So really the 10 pieces that we have on our code there were nearly unanimous. It was it was kind of overwhelmingly. We kind of gravitated right to those 10, and people believed in them 100%. And then the second night, what we did, we just kind of cleaned up some language and polished it up the way it made sure it said what we wanted it to say. And the second night, we really focused more on the complaint/concern process and how are we going to handle and what are kind of the particulars of how do we address concerns from students and parents. So that was kind of our second night. I had asked some of the committee members are here. I'll introduce them, and then I had asked them if they want, they can comment on the process or take questions or anything like that. But so we have in the back we have Rick Kaitner. He was parent at the time. Since then he's been hired as the head girls hockey coach. We have Michelle Feld, heavily involved in a number of sports, quarterback club president, and has a son and a daughter involved in multiple sports. Same table as Don Cohn, hockey parent and very involved with the hockey group. And then at the table on the far right, Mike Bale, head girls basketball coach. So those are 4 representatives we had. So again, any of you folks, if you want to comment on the process or any information to add?
I don't think so. I think just to reiterate, the students really had some really strong input on how they felt strongly that it should be their involvement with the coach and keeping the parents in the back part, that it's kind of building their relationship with the coaches and kind of keeping the parents kind of in the back seat to be supporters rather than, I don't know, overstepping the child's preferences. But I thought it was a really good process, and it also kind of gives the coaches a little more support. I think we need to make sure that Jim has worked really hard in hiring some good coaches now, and that we need to really have some backup and support for them so they're not put in uncomfortable situations with parents. So
basically, let the coach student athlete, let them have their fun, and then let the kid go tell mom and dad where we are at with our team. So mom and dad doesn't get a different opinion by watching the game or watching the sport. And 2, we didn't want to make this a deterrent for moms and dads to have a good time in the game, but be civil about it, because it brings the school, the city, and the team in all the light. You're up there making all kinds of bad stuff and going on, and it looks bad at the whole area. So it's just to be civil, have a good time, be intense, cheer your kids on, cheer your team on, but be civil about it. And let the coach the kids, and if you got a complaint, let the kid talk to the coach first. And then if you don't get a result, then get the kid, your mom, dad involved, and Jim involved. That's basically what it was.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Lankamp for forming the committee and getting the coaches and parents and student athletes involved. This has been somewhat of an issue. He was very upfront about it, and I thought the committee was run well. And the document that we formed, I think will be very, very helpful.
Only thing that I would add is, when I got the email that they were doing this, I was first shocked that we didn't already have one. And I guess that's my fault for not knowing we didn't have one. The next big surprising thing for me was when I looked around to our schools in the area, nobody has one. So I'd like to thank Jim for the progressiveness. Being one of the first ones out there to do this, I think that's a good step for our district.
Jim, I would also add to that, Mark, it's also continuous engagement and continuous improvement. So breaking the boundaries first is important, but sustaining that philosophy, that way in which all components collaborate, I think will also be essential to once again set us at a higher level, a higher mark for our Baraboo sports activities as well as our academic activities and our arts activities. Collaborative engagement is the name of the game. We're all in it together, and if we're not in it, if we're unaware, we tend to make up stories of what we think it is rather than having information that helps guide us toward what the realities are. And the continuous engagement of that, I think, is critical. Once it gets started, continuation is important.
It really was enjoyable. And I mean, I don't know what the rest of the committee was like, but to me, the 90 minutes just flew by. It was fun. I mean, just good conversation and all that. It was really enjoyable. Lastly, I guess I'll talk about the implementation. So where do we go from here? Because even at the committee, we said, well, how do we get this out? How do parents sign off on it? All that type of thing. Trying to be understanding and respectful of all the paperwork we already ask our assistants to do. My thought was that we put it right in the co-curricular code itself. Parents and students already signed that document. Now, obviously, the fall sports have signed the code, so the question is, what do we do with them? I don't think it would be that out of the ordinary to ask them to re-sign it for the winter. I did mention the code at the fall sport parent meeting, and that was when we were in the middle of forming this, or I think maybe we had just completed the draft. And I told the group, it still had to be accepted and approved at the school board level, but this was, again, this is what we had come up with. So there, I think there is some awareness. The other thing I believe we do is once this was accepted is, currently we ask our head coaches, and again, even whether it's freshman, JV, varsity, to send a weekly communication to our parents. And again, it wouldn't be, it'd be pretty easy to attach this as a document and send it out and get it to the parents' hands. So those that weren't at the meeting would still be communicated to them. The other thing we're going to do is print it in the fall and winter sports programs. There'll be a page right in there, and again, just one more way to try to get this into people's hands, especially those who aren't parents, if they're just spectators, because again, this is a spectator/parent code. So those are our ideas for getting the word out, getting the message out, and having people understand it.
Can you talk a little bit about the Play Positive pledge?
I will. I had it actually on my list.
Sorry.
Good question, Kevin.
I was going to bring Chromebooks.
You're in the top
sure
5 right now at 169. I just want to let you know that.
Right. So, and actually, and the timing of that was perfect because, again, this was obviously we were stressing, kind of renewing our commitment to positive positive sportsmanship and positive experience. So I had heard about this last winter, I think, from McFarland had participated in it, and so it's something that was kind of always in the back of my mind. And then when, as this parent code of conduct came to be, again, the timing was perfect. Yeah, we've asked parents, and actually, really anybody, any community member, we've to take the Play Positive pledge, which again is mainly just, I think there's 4 or 5 things that just basically say, you know, I'm gonna be respectful and exhibit positive sportsmanship. The other perfect timing of it is, yeah, if we stay in the top 5, we get some money that we can put toward the bleacher project. So, you know, yeah, so far it's been fantastic. We've had very good response on it.
Yeah, I want to thank you for this. I mean, all 3 of my kids went through the athletic program, and it was a positive experience. And you know, this is what it's about. It's yeah, projecting a positive image, but it's also giving our athletes, student athletes, the opportunity to experience it in a positive way. And you know, being positive to your fellow teammates, being positive to your competitor, being positive to that official, even when you may not agree with the call. These are all important things, and that not only for our sports, but for their future and how they project themselves in their lifetime. So thank you all for your work.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Up next, tailgate
tell the
events at the
ref
high
I'm
school.
positive you were wrong?
Nikki and
You don't have
Marcy.
to, just sit down. It's the coach's job.
Hi. Hello, Marcy.
Marcy Grass.
Nikki Green. We're here to briefly talk about 2 upcoming tailgate events at the high school. The first one is September 4th from 4 to 7. That one is hosted by Marcy and the Link Crew, and it is primarily geared towards the freshman class and engaging them into the high school life. The second one is on September 25th, hosted by Student Council. I'm assisting with that one. That one is from approximately 5 to 7 p.m. to bridge that time that has typically been open between the parade and the football game. So the goal of that one is to engage the community, to get them involved in some other homecoming activity besides the parade and the football game. The goal of, we were really figured out we were planning the same event twice. So instead of duplicating the resources, we are using each other as resources to make the process a little more efficient. One aspect of the events is partnering with the National Guard. They are coming in with, what are they
On
bringing
the
in?
4th, we'll have a rock wall and then a football toss, which I guess is like a blow up of some sort. And they bring that and the kids get to do, obviously climb a rock wall and throw a football.
Mhm. And they're doing the same on the 25th as well. And they actually print these really nice posters,
For
promotional
free.
flyers for us.
For free.
Yes, so that was a nice perk of partnering with the National Guard. And we are also trying to line up some live entertainment, including the cheerleaders and the pep band and some community groups to come in and provide entertainment at the tailgates. There will be food and other games. And it's an opportunity for the community to engage with our student groups and athletic groups and potentially provide an additional source of revenue for them.
Is that here?
It is. They are both here in the west parking lot. We are holding them there versus in the front parking lot because we are using the greenhouse as the source of electricity.
So we just really wanted to bring this information to you since they'll be hopefully largely attended events, and we wanted you to be aware of these events as they're
As far as the freshman tailgate goes, this is something that has been done by Link Crew every year, and it's not trying to make money off of this. It's just something to get our freshmen into the whole high school experience, help make that connection, and get them to the football game.
How many kids do you anticipate to come to this?
Well, we have 253 freshmen in the freshman class, and I'd love to say that they're all gonna come. We've hit them pretty hard with this so far. Like, it was on their supply list at registration, when they come to freshman orientation. It's gonna be mentioned numerous times. These will be displayed all around the building. I would love to see 100. I mean, they get to eat for free, so why would they not want to come? But realistically, last year I think maybe we had 40. But you know, hey, 40 is better than nothing. So.
How many, I know the first one you have the National Guard watching the kids, but how many do you, whatever, not sponsors, but how many chaperones you gonna have at the second one?
We aren't really requiring chaperones, it's a community-wide event. So
But the
parents-
National Guard's gonna be at both.
The National Guard will be at both. Oh, are you talking
That'll
about
be
just
then
as
You'll-
the
we'll be good.
activities?
Oh yeah, I'm not the rock wall. Don't worry, I'm not doing the rock
yeah,
wall.
no.
Rocco, he's got that all.
Part of the emergency plan.
Well, yeah, we're gonna test our.
It's just like a chaperone with your prom.
Better get that software up and running, Danny.
It's geared towards the whole community. And we're hoping to get a good representation. We have, the fire department is partnering with us to be there, so we're hoping to engage high school students also.
Would this have to coincide with any class reunions coming up that same weekend?
I don't know. I would think so because homecoming weekend is when we do the Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And so I think there are some class reunions that coincide with that weekend. And another thing to note at the September 4th event is the same day as the ribbon cutting here at the high school for the referendum construction projects.
Is there any liability on something like this?
We have insurance, you want to talk about?
Yeah, we checked with Don Rick and we don't require any additional special event insurance since it's on school property. It's covered by our regular insurance policy.
Good question.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Brings us then next to personnel recommendations, the first of which is the approval of a resignation. You were provided the resignation letter in your board packet. I would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the resignation of Amanda Fagan, East first grade.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mortimer, seconded by Mr. Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resignation thus accepted. Brings us to approval of new hires. Want to make a note on number 3. Ms. Wolf, I would like to act on that separately from the other two because we need to put a stipulation that is dependent upon her being released from her existing contract, which they say they will not act upon until September 1st. So that having been said, I would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the approval of Tricia Felix for Jack Young Middle School Special Education and Stephen Herder, Verbu High School Special Education.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Riley, seconded by Vedro. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to Amy Wolf. Entertaining motion with the contingency that her resignation be accepted from Dodgeville. And the effective date of her contract would then be September 1st.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bedro, seconded by Meering. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to C, the approval of the educational assistance for 2015-16. You were sent that information in your board packet. You were then provided an updated list that had some additions and changes on it. So I would thus ask that we act upon the list that you were provided as opposed to what came in your board packet. And I would thus entertain a motion for the acceptance of those educational assistance for the upcoming school year.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bedro, seconded by Meering. Any discussion?
Just a comment. Anyone who's been reading the papers, anyone who's been following issues about education and the dearth of teachers as well as support aides should know how difficult it has become and how much more difficult it will be. unless we're able to move toward creating some kinds of changes in our legislature. I just want to point that out because the boards ultimately can only do so much, and our administration can only do so much. Without the support of our legislature, we're in trouble. I want to commend all of the leadership, even in the hard times that we are facing, for being able to pull this feat off. There are many districts in our state that have vacant positions for teachers and administrators still as we move into the new year. Thank you all for your work.
Anything else? Any comments?
I think I've blown it.
You've got it covered here. Having a motion and a second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us then to the approval of the additional 2015-16 co-curricular assignments. There was a narrative provided in your board packet. Unless anybody has any particular in-depth questions on the narrative that was provided, I would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the additional 15-16 co-curricular assignments.
I move to approve the additional co-curricular assignments.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Then brings us thus to new business. And first up is the approval of the 2015-16 WASB membership.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Riley. Any discussion?
Yeah, the only thing is I decided that it'd be good just for us to bring this out separately. As a board, I mean, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards represents almost all of the school districts in the state of Wisconsin, and they do a lot of stuff that maybe they don't get recognized. Every day we have people who can advocate for us, who go in there, and they advocate for what we want as a school board. And that's why we have a resolutions committee, which I've been a member of, and they don't do anything beyond, or they go above and beyond that, actually, representing our voice on that. The other things that they do is with policy, and thank goodness we do have the Wisconsin Associations of School Boards available as a resource because of all of the things that continuously seem to be changing in our government, whether it's Republican or Democrats who are in charge, that we need to be able to have their help and guidance when we are formulating those policies. If we didn't have them, our costs, I believe, would go up dramatically through lawyers and other avenues, and it wouldn't be as effective. And then they also provide, I think, a tremendous educational service for us as school board members, so that we can work on our own professional development. And this is just a little bit, I think, of many of the things that they do for us. And so that's the reason why I believe that we need to continue to support them and use them as one of our main resources as a board.
I guess, I see where it costs over $7,000 for that membership. What have they really done for Baraboo schools to justify the $7,000?
Well, I think if you listen to what Mr. Meering just said, I mean, there are board members that have taken advantage of professional development. There's a state convention that we attend, not only as board members, but as administrators. There's legal aspects that I've personally utilized their services for in the past. If we didn't have that, we'd be tallying a lawyer fee. The policy, I remember when we renumbered our policies, I don't know how many years ago that was, Doug, 5, 6, seems like forever ago, but that was a process that took us 2 or 3 years. And if it weren't for their help in sifting through what was antiquated, what needed to be updated, what we were missing, somebody else would have to have spent time and effort and money to sort through all of that. So, I mean, those are just a few things that we've utilized them for. And again, I said personally, I've talked to the legal departments at WASB on numerous occasions. I guess part of it is what you take out of it as a board member. I mean, we have board members that don't take advantage of the professional development. We have board members that don't take advantage of the state convention. That's a personal thing. So I guess if I was sitting here and I'd never been to a convention and I'd never been to a professional development and I had been to a regional seminar, I guess I would probably say I don't get much out of it.
Now, Ned, I know you've been to at least a few seminars, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to do that. Without their support, we would not have had that educational benefit. But again, Kevin does bring up the policy, and I know that if we didn't have them, that we would be having to go to our legal counsel, and our bills for those would go up dramatically. So I don't believe that this would be, I think this would be a case where, what is it, penny wise, pound foolish.
Well, it's based on student enrollment, and it's what per student? What are we paying them, $2 a student?
It's probably about that. Yeah, that's about what it comes out to.
So if you look at it in aspects of it's $2 a student, you know, I'm not dismissing the fact that it's $7,000, but I think it's money well spent. That's just my opinion.
I appreciate the training opportunities, and I appreciate the publications as well. Now, the school news, you know, it comes into my house and goes into my reading room, and it gets read, and I learn quite a bit, not from the publications and the training, either the seminars or the conferences. I find it personally valuable to understand the wider issues outside of the Baraboo district, but that impact the Baraboo district.
Every new school board member is provided an opportunity to be oriented and inducted into the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, where both seasoned school board members as well as administrators provide an overview of the responsibilities of what a school board member does and does not do. In addition, provides many professional development opportunities to understand the unique aspects of Wisconsin schools' budgeting processes, how those operate, so that we are educated to be able to make reasonable and productive decisions. I was disheartened to read in the newspaper last week or 2 weeks ago that Portage School District School Board voted not to renew their membership. And it appears that one member of the school board raised a question similar to School Board Mortimer. What is their function? Are they representing us? Are they doing the job for us? I think every other school district in the state has re-upped their membership, and that's the answer. They do a phenomenal job for those of us who are elected officials who need outside guidance to understand the larger picture so that we can ensure the fact that we're operating out of best practices. And I think that $7,000, given our budget, is very well spent.
Well, if you recall, and I'm not sure what the timeline was, but a few years back, we had an annual opportunity to renew our membership in the National Association of School Boards. And Doug, you've been to some of their conventions in the past. And we had a board discussion about what did we get out of that. And it was less money than this is. I don't know, $3,000, I think.
I don't think it was a lot less.
It was a pretty good chunk of money nonetheless,
Sure.
just as this is. And we had a discussion as to what our benefits in Baraboo are for being a member of the National Association of School Boards, and it was the board's decision at that time not to renew it. And I think it certainly is a valid discussion to, you know, annually revisit what is it that we get from them. And, you know, we haven't been a member of the National Association of School Boards for probably 5 years now, something like that. And I think the consensus of the board was that they really wasn't much of a way to gauge. Doug would differ because Doug went to some of the conventions, but wasn't much of a way for us to gauge what they did for us. And I beg to differ. I think WASB, there's plenty of ways for us to gauge what they do.
Yeah, and I went to the convention as a representative of CISA 5's board. And Ed, you know, or whatever, any board member, please, their phone lines are always open. If there's anything that you ever have a concern with, and they'd be even willing to come here at any time to say, hey, what can we do to help? And so, I mean, certainly, it's always my feeling with an organization when they do have that open door policy, when they bend over backwards to try to represent the school boards. It's a group that we need to associate with, because I think in the long run it saves us and makes us and helps our students, and that's really what this is all about.
Consider myself chewed out.
They're not chewed out yet. But I mean, again, I think we just need to remember that, hey, anytime you can give them a call, and they'll be more than willing to listen. So. That's a chew out by me? I've done better than that.
I've had better than that.
Okay, all right. Good.
Having a motion and a second, motion by Meering, seconded by Riley. Those in favor of the renewal of the 2015-16 WASB membership signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Awesome, thank you. That was a fantastic discussion. On a lighter note, I turn to Mr. McNevin for the approval of the receipts and disbursements.
Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried, disbursements thus approved. And lastly, under new business, the approval of the board budget hearing and annual meeting times and location for September the 28th. For that timeline, I would like to turn to Mr. Creeper and Ms. Mueller.
Board meeting will occur at 5:30. Budget hearing will be at 6. Immediately following that will be the annual meeting.
If you're open to that timeline.
And where will out of here at 6:15?
And the Packer game following.
And
Actually, Lori.
what's that?
And that will occur.
And we're hoping to have that at East Elementary IMC to showcase it and use that as a ribbon cutting. So the ribbon cutting would be at 5 o'clock, board meeting at 5:30, a short board meeting, so we're ready to start our budget hearing at 6 and do the annual meeting right away. If you're open.
I would then entertain a motion for the acceptance of the timeline as presented in the location of East School.
I move to accept that timeline and location.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Mortimer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?